My mother has cultivated her garden, framed by weathered rock outcroppings and an ambling stone wall filled with blooming plants, for almost 50 years, nurturing those plants with the same caring, devoted attention she gave to her children, weeding with the utmost care. Weeds have deceptively pretty blossoms sometimes, and valuable flowering plants can sometimes be scrubby, dull-looking greens before they bud. Allowing what might be flowers and weeds to grow together takes patience. Mom's experienced advice to amateur, overzealous young weeders helping her in the garden was always, if you're not sure what's growing, leave it alone. If in doubt, don't pull it out. There was always something comforting when helping my mom in her garden about being given permission, even instruction, to embrace those moments when I was not sure. There was freedom in being able to say, I don't know. It came as a great relief when saying, I don't know, was the responsible thing to do. And that is the message of today's gospel. In Jesus' parable of the wheat and the weeds, as the kingdom of heaven grows on earth, an enemy sows weeds that threaten growth. In the early stages, good and evil can be nearly indistinguishable. Jesus' parable cautions against that natural inclination to weed out evil, to pass judgment, to keep things easy and simple. While in the short term, labels make things seem to fit into neat little boxes, to pass judgment is to risk mislabeling a future blossom as a weed. Better to leave judgment to the farmer waiting patiently for harvest time, when plants have matured enough to bear fruit and show their true nature. As with my mother's garden, I don't have to distinguish between flowers and weeds. When I don't know, I can leave them to grow together in the same flower bed. In the growth of God's kingdom, God relieves us of the burden of knowing as God knows. We can't know everything as God knows. Our lives can be lived in humble admission and recognition of that fact. We can't see or judge or understand as God does, and we should probably be very glad we cannot know as God knows how so much beauty and so much suffering can coexist, how good and evil can mature into full flower side by side. Part of faith is trusting God, trusting that God understands when we cannot. Only God knows, and God is God so that we do not have to be. As neither sower nor reaper, we lack perspective on the crop in which we grow. True wisdom is to recognize there's a difference between divine perspective and our own. And life does involve suffering that appears to be unmerited and unjust, and I don't know why. To have faith is to trust God understands what we cannot fathom. There's no perfect crop, no perfect world, and God's kingdom on earth keeps growing. Suffering is as much a part of our lot as it was for Christ. As Paul writes to the Romans, as we heard this morning, the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory about to be revealed. Creation waits with eager longing for the revealing of the children of God. And if we hope for what we do not see, we wait for it with patience. We follow that farmer who waits for harvest time, trusting a bigger picture that only God can see will be worth the wait. We follow Jesus in hope. As we grow, we discover in work and in life, in the community of faith, that owning our limitations enables collaborating with complementary gifts and expertise and strengths. We're always better working together as a community than when we try to handle things all by ourselves. In the community of faith, we know we're never alone, and we're blessed to be able to make God's presence manifest to one another in our daily interactions. At its best, the Christian life is lived humbly in community as connected fellow perpetual works in progress, aware of our limitations relative to God's limitlessness. Our beginnings, middles, and ends are always held by God who is and has been and always will be. As Isaiah puts it, God who is both first and last. Every life is full of cycles of beginnings and endings and new birth. We learn from our mistakes and our failures, at least as well as from our successes. And there's a story that we'll be talking about more after this service, a story of a man practiced in the art of such learning, whose own reflection, whose own awareness of what he's learned enriches his life well lived. This is a story of a person who lives as today's parable invites us to live. A person who chooses mercy over justice. A person who leans into hope. A person deeply aware that those who many may see as weeds often possess the greatest potential for saintliness. A person humble enough to appreciate his own capacity for weediness. A person who devotes his life to bringing forth good and encouraging others. A human skilled in the art of beholding beauty, of asking thoughtful questions, of bestowing caring gifts, of listening, paying attention, and awakening wonder. And that person is Theo of Golden. Like a master gardener, Theo knows that for a life to be well lived as a work of art, it must be grounded in love. No wonder my gardening mother enjoyed this book so much. And I look forward to hearing how you enjoyed it as well.